Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm your host, Katie Mox, and coming up on today's show, we'll take a look at NFL futures. Where is the big money being placed so far before the season starts, and do we agree with it? Shohei Ohtani is a dual threat on the mound and at the plate, and he's just heating up. Should we be betting on him to win 2 awards this season? And of course, I will give you my Mox Locks. Joining us today is our friend of the show, Mr. Danny Brasco. Danny, it's been a tough week for everybody out there on the MLB slate. How do you bounce back from something like this?
If you're doing this professional, you have to know that your results are based on the year, not any one day. So it might get rough any given patch, but stick to your system, stick to your guns, and just soldier through the tough times. At the end of the day, this is math, right? If you're betting the right way, it's just math. So out of 100 bets, if you're making 60 good ones, you should end up in the money. Just power through.
I feel like a lot of people over the weekend just got slaughtered on the MLB slate. Do you think that there's something to like getting up to the middle of the season as we approach, the All-Star game and that midway point? Do things just kind of start to go haywire a little bit? Is this a time to maybe scale back, wait for the second half of the season and just be super smart with your bets, or you just keep firing away?
I mean, perhaps MLB, the MLB season is certainly a season of runs. Every team plays 162 and they're going to go through really, really bad droughts, and they're also going to catch fire, even the average team. So you just kind of have to stay attuned to how the teams are streaking. And look, at the end of the day, it's sports gambling. Anything can happen. The Pirates can beat the Yankees, right? The world just flips on its head any given moment. So do your best and, hang in there and battle through the tough beats, but keep making good bets, people.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I saw on your Instagram story too about your UFC card. You're like, yeah, maybe I lost this weekend, but overall, I'm still positive. So, do you think that even casual bettors should be keeping track of all of their bets just to kind of keep it in perspective about how they're doing so that if you do have a bad weekend, you can look back, you're like, oh, but I'm actually still up 17 units?
Yeah, exactly. You have to look at it. Also, I always tell people to ask themselves the question, like, is this going to be a side hustle for you? Do you want to make income from it? Do you want to do this professionally? Yeah. Or are you just doing it for entertainment, watching the game with your buddies, put a couple bucks on the game? Fun stuff, But if you want to make money from it, then yeah, you got to treat it like an actual side hustle, right? Like I don't just willy-nilly pick stocks. I make sure I make a plan. I diversify it. I check back in. So you got to really keep track of what you're doing. You have to manage your money. And if you look back and you're making, the same size bets and betting smart things, you're probably gonna have a better chance at actually walking away with some green than just, throwing money on random stuff just for fun. But yeah, keep track of this stuff, guys. It matters.
It matters. Okay, Danny, stay right there. We're going to get into my Mox thought of the day. So let's begin with the NFL. According to Caesars Sportsbook, there have been 10 bets of $10,000 or more placed on who will win Super Bowl 57, and 6 of those 10 have been placed on the Buccaneers. The Bucs are second behind the Bills to win the whole thing at plus 750. So who is the best value to win the Super Bowl right now? So I'm not going with the Bucs on this one. I understand, and I do think that it's a pretty good bet. Both of these teams are stacked and ready to win right now, but I actually like the Bills. I like the favorites. I like the Bills at plus 650. Look, this is probably the best odds that you're going to get either of these teams. So again, I think it's a good time to buy. But look, the Bills are just ready, I think. I have been a Bills believer, and Danny, you know this, for a couple years now. The Bills have made the playoffs 3 years in a row. They suffered a horrible beat with a bad coin toss that kept them out of the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen, to me, is just such a stud. He continues to improve. They got Von Miller just coming off of a Super Bowl. That is huge for them. They've also beefed up their secondary a little bit, and the defense already is just crazy. They averaged holding their opponents to only 15 points per game. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be as big of a threat this year. They kind of moved around some of their key players. So I think it's a year for the Bills. I'm going to go with them on this one. All right, we're going to bring back in Danny for Capper's Corner. Danny, you heard what I had to say on who I think has the best value here to win the Super Bowl. What do you think?
I love your take on the Bills because, look, they are the odds-on favorite, but plus 650, like you said, is fantastic odds. And before the season starts, that's probably the best you're going to get because we think they're going to start pretty hot. I totally agree with you. Josh Allen is ready. His leadership and his talent have matched up. That whole locker room is behind him. Those guys love him, and they believe that he's that dude that can take him to the promised land. He was a coin flip away, Katie. It was a coin flip away. The Bills had the Chiefs. They had them. And the rules are now changed because we don't want to see great teams go out like that. Like, that's how good this team was and how close they were to greatness, is that they changed the rules for them. like you mentioned, they just got even more stacked. And this team was already great. Like that receiving core of Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox, they're all back. They added Isaiah McKenzie, who's another dynamic receiver who can fit in really well, kind of play that slot role. OJ Howard. I mean, they just get Roger Saffold to shore up the offensive line a little bit, which is maybe the one knock on them, right? And then, like you said, defensively, there was 15 points a game in the NFL. That's insane, especially in this modern NFL. That's insane. They were so stingy on defense. The one area, again, if we're going to find one knock, they actually didn't rush the quarterback that great. They didn't get great pressure. Who did they add in the offseason? Von freaking Miller. I mean, what more do you want? A good team just got better. I don't see why I would go against the Bills here. And after, coming so close against the Chiefs, I think they can get over the hump. The one long shot team I won't sleep on in the AFC, Kenny alluded to them on an earlier episode. I like the Chargers this year. They look scary. Plus 1,600,
I love
Katie.
the Chargers.
What do you think?
Oh, I love the Chargers. I'm hot on the Chargers right now. It's Herbie fully loaded. I think that they can, I think they can certainly win their division easily. I like them over their win total. I love Justin Herbert, and they've also beefed up their defense as well, adding Khalil Mack. So I think that's exciting. If I like a long shot, I'm actually looking at the Ravens here at plus 2,000. Look, the Ravens were decimated by injuries last year, so I think a lot of people forget just how good this team actually is. They've got a solid defense. They had a pretty good draft, and they've got Lamar Jackson, who is still one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league right now, possibly of all time if he, starts to win in the playoffs a little bit more. But at plus 2,000, I think this could be a good spot for the Ravens. Okay, so we're going to stick with the NFL and talk Defensive Player of the Year. And yes, you've got some big names there, Aaron Donald and TJ Watt. But there are some more juicy nuggets from Caesar Sportsbook. Raiders defensive end Max Crosby at plus 5,000 and Packers linebacker Rashawn Gary at plus 6,000 are two of the players who have drawn the most money in this category. So Danny, is there a defensive player out there that you think can win the big one here? Or are you going with one of the safer choices?
I'm probably going to go with one of the safer choices. That being said, still fantastic odds. Rashawn Gary, Max Crosby at those insane odds. I probably won't be putting my money on there, but I will tell you one thing. 8 out of the last 10 Defensive Player of the Year awards have been pass rushers. So if you're going to put your money on someone, especially long shot odds, do it on a guy that's getting sacks and getting after the quarterback, because those are the impact plays that we're all watching, and really, the voters are ending up putting their votes behind that create those, those huge moments in games that really define the impact of a defensive player. I'm going with Myles Garrett at plus 750. He actually opened as the favorite here, and very quickly, former award winners Aaron Donald and TJ Watt overtook him and became, a little slightly bigger favorites. The thing is, Garrett feels like he's a season away from his biggest breakout of his career so far. He had 16 sacks last year. And what's super interesting is in a year where TJ Watt tied the single season sack record of Michael Strahan with 22 and a half, Myles Garrett actually had 10 more QB pressures than him. So, he's always in the quarterback's face. And the Browns getting Deshaun Watson and kind of beefing up this season, I think that they'll be more involved in primetime games and a team that we'll be watching a lot more, and watching Myles Garrett perhaps make these big plays in big moments on, the Monday Night Football, Sunday night games. So with the Browns hopefully being competitive and his name being in the primetime lights, 20 sack season, and I can see Garrett pulling off the Defensive Player of the Year at plus 750.
I love Myles Garrett, and I agree with everything that you're saying. The only thing that worries me about him is, of course, the quarterback situation in Cleveland. We don't know if Deshaun Watson is going to play or how long. So who's going to be filling in that slot? The defense could be out there a lot and getting gassed. But I do like that a lot. I'm going with Aaron Donald. I am a card-carrying member of the Rams hater club, except for Aaron Donald, even though he pretended to not know who Deebo Samuel was. He's at plus 700. He's won 3 times in a 4-year span. The last time was in 2020. There were rumors that he might retire after the Super Bowl, but he was quoted as saying he is hungry for more and he wants more. I do think that the Rams are going to be really competitive again this year. Sadly, well, depending on the quarterback situation in San Francisco, they're probably going to take the NFC West this year, possibly the entire NFC. So I really like Aaron Donald, but another one I was looking at with Micah Parsons at plus 1,000. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. He finished, Danny, with 13 sacks, 20 tackles for loss, 84 total tackles, and 3 forced fumbles. And he also registered 47 quarterback pressure. So if there's someone that's like a little bit more value, Micah Parsons might be a good gamble.
That's absolutely my long shot at plus 1,000. I love Parsons for all the reasons you just brought up. Players often in their second year make a big leap too. That was all in his rookie season. All those stats you just rattled off. And one of the exceptions to the 8 out of the 10 players that have won Defensive Player of the Year being pass rushers in the last 10 years. One of those exceptions, 2013, Luke Kuechly, linebacker who was tackling everything that moved. Micah Parsons does a lot of those things. So plus 1,000, I love that long shot.
I love that too. And it was so interesting when I was looking at some of these trends, and you hit on a couple of them already. But 4 of the last 7 winners of this award were on defenses that ranked outside of the top 10. So it's like we're looking at people like Aaron Donald or these top defenses, but it is also kind of worth looking at some of these teams that don't have a top 10 defense because some of these guys will look much more impactful.
That's very interesting. I like that point a lot.
Okay, let's move on to baseball here and let's talk Shohei Ohtani. So he is nearly unhittable on the mound right now. He has not allowed an earned run in his last 4 starts and has double-digit strikeouts in the last 3. He is currently the 3rd highest odds to win the AL Cy Young at plus 700. Is he the best bet to win the award with the way he has been pitching?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to go with the odds-on favorite right now because I think the race is close to over. Shane McClanahan, the ace of the Tampa Bay Rays, is absolutely dominant this season. And as good as Shohei has been, I mean, we've seen him striking out 10 plus in, almost every start, it feels like. He's got electric stuff on the mound. McClanahan is quietly having the best season in MLB. 1.73 ERA over 104 innings. There's a guy that has a better ERA than him, Tony Gonsolin on the Dodgers, but he's pitched 20 less innings than this guy. McClanahan has 141 strikeouts, Katie. As good as Shohei has been striking guys out, McClanahan actually has a higher strikeout through 9 ratio than him with 12.17.
Well, he's pitched more innings.
That's right. Yeah. And over more innings, which is to my point exactly. It's more impressive to me, right? You're doing it over a bigger sample size. His whip is 0.81. This guy's unhittable. He doesn't allow base runners. He's on a run of 11 straight starts with 6+ innings pitched and 7+ strikeouts recorded. He's got 24 more innings than Ohtani recorded, and he's only given up 6 more hits than him. So my point, and only 1 less walk. My point is really going to be this. McClanahan has been doing it consistently over more time, and I think at one point Shohei is going to get rocked. He has these amazing starts, but he peppers in, one where he gives up 5-6 runs, a couple, long balls go out of the park, and that ERA isn't going to stay as pristine as it is. I could see McClanahan finishing this good. The one big threat to him I see is Justin Verlander, who's having a vintage Verlander season.
Yes.
He has a 2.00 ERA, so he's right behind him, but he's 40 strikeouts behind McClanahan. And the last 2 AL Cy Young Award winners were both the strikeout kings of the league that year. So McClanahan kind of looks like far and away he's going to win the strikeout title. The ERA is ridiculous. The innings, the whip. It's Shane McClanahan of the Tampa Bay Rays. As good as Shohei is, I got to go with the ace of the league.
All right. It's hard to argue with that. And you make very, very, very solid points. I do think it's worth sprinkling a little bit on Shohei here at plus 700. And you hit on this in your analysis that you just gave. Yeah, he doesn't really pitch that many innings, but it does seem like the voters are starting to soften a little bit. It's usually that 200 inning mark. Like you got to at least go to 200 innings, but it seems like they're kind of softening a little bit on that one. In fact, in the last 8 seasons, 4 Cy Young Award winners have pitched below 200. To me, it was shocking that he was iced out last year and got 0 votes. So I kind of feel like some people might be feeling like that was a little bit of a mistake, give him like a little bit of a mulligan here. But also if he wasn't a full-time hitter as well, then he probably would have won this award several times over by now. So I feel like it's a good get back year for him. I don't love to bet on the Angels, but Shohei has just been a complete ace on the mound and as a hitter as well. So hopefully he gets there this year at plus 700.
They gave him the MVP last year, so that'll tide him over. But yeah, he's making a Cy Young case alone this season. So he's an amazing player. It's Japanese Babe Ruth. He's insane.
Exactly. Japanese Babe Ruth. Okay. So let's keep it with Ohtani and let's talk MVP. You just kind of hit on that right now. Right now, he is the second best odds to win the AL MVP behind Aaron Judge, who is our favorite. And while we talked about this a couple weeks ago, he wasn't pitching this good. And of course, the combo as a hitter pitcher will always be interesting for MVP debates. So who has the better bet for MVP? Is it Judge at plus 100 or Ohtani at plus 150? I feel like I know what we're both going to say here, but let me have it.
Katie, I'm going to make it simple for us. The Angels are 38-50. Who cares?
No.
Who
cares?
Who cares about the Angels?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
We just did this
No
last year. Japanese Babe Ruth deserves all the accolades and all the praise. He's amazing. But who's watching? Nobody's watching modern Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout, who's won 3 MVPs in the last 10 years, and Japanese Babe Ruth. They're being wasted in La La Land over there. It's sad. It's really sad. I'm a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
I'm upset by that, right? It feels like they could be changing the game and actually helping it advance when football and basketball are lapping baseball. These guys are wasting away in Los Angeles, not winning. Shohei is putting together amazing numbers. You look at his MVP numbers from last season. He had 45 home runs, 100 ribs, and a 6th season on the mound. He's doing very similar things this year. Maybe he doesn't hit 45 homers, but he's not that far off that pace. And his pitching numbers, like you said, he's been on fire on the mound. So at the end of the year, his numbers aren't going to look that far off than they did last year. It's just like, technically speaking, we could give him the MVP every year if he performs like this on the mound and at the plate. Right. We can just keep congratulating Japanese Babe Ruth, but nobody's watching. And
the nickname that you keep referring to him as is sending me.
I do love it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, I'll put it like this. For the business of baseball, it's best if Aaron Judge wins the award because he's the best player on the best team in the biggest market in the game. Basketball is better when the Lakers and Knicks are winning. Football is better when the Cowboys are when the big market team. Katie, trust me, I'm a Giants fan. I don't want any of that. But I'm telling you, from a business perspective, these organizations want to see their big market and big name teams win. It's just better for the league. So Shohei was on the cover of MLB The Show, the baseball video game last season. Next year, it's going to be Aaron Judge after he's taken home the hardware. So Judge is the MVP. Yeah. That's it. I do love Shohei, but no one cares about the Angels. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree with you. No one cares about the Angels. You and I were on here a couple weeks ago talking about Aaron Judge, and that is absolutely his to lose. And I still agree with that. Again, it's Judge Judy and it's Aaron Judge, and I don't bet against either of those guys. Across 80 games, he has hit 30 home runs with a .287 batting average. It's just been absolutely ridiculous. So I agree with you. Judge plus 100. Go with the favorite here and don't really think too much about it. All right, the time has come for Mox Locks. Okay, I'm taking the Mets money line versus the Braves plus 115. So the Mets need a bounce back here. They were shut out by the Marlins 2-0. And this is going to be a battle of the maxes. We've got Scherzer versus Fried. So going to be a revenge game for Scherzer as he injured himself against the Braves last season during the NL Championship Series for the Dodgers. And look, he is 10-9 lifetime against the Braves. At Truist Park, he is 3-3 with a 3.76 ERA. Fried has been crazy. He just pitched 6 shutout innings and beat the Cardinals, but I do think that they split this series in May. I think it's a bounce back game for Scherzer. I think he's going to get out there, have a hell of a game. So I'm taking Mets money line plus 115.
I'm on the Mets too here, Katie. Scherzer as an underdog is just it's too hard to pass up. I got to take Scherzer as the dog here. I saw early money come in on them as well. And yeah, Mets Braves, this is the division. This is the NL East right here. So the Mets kind of have to make a statement. They're going to go into Turner Field. This is the team that they need to beat to make sure the division is theirs this year, and they are the top dog in the NL. So time to put your money where your mouth is with your best pitcher on the mound. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. I love it. Okay, and then this one, it has changed a little bit. So I'm taking Mitch Keller. I got him this morning at over 3.5 strikeouts. This is at minus 170, which was pretty juicy. But when I looked at that 3.5 number, I was like, there's no way this is too low. And guess what? The books figured it out. This is now bumped up to 4.5 strikeouts, and it's at plus money at plus 110, which I do still think is a decent play here. He averages 4.13 strikeouts per game. It's about 0.9 Ks per inning this season. So having him last for 4.5, it does seem really likely. He only has 5 strikeouts versus the Marlins in 2 career starts. So that kind of brings this average down a little bit. However, the Marlins have a 23.4 strikeout rate. At 3.5, it was an absolute no-brainer for me, even at that minus 170. But I do still think it's worth a play at 4.5.
Yeah, you could definitely sprinkle that too, because Mitch Keller, he's not the best pitcher, but even in a terrible start where he got shelled by the Yankees, they still left him in. He was giving up hits and runs left and right. He went 6 innings, gave up 10 hits and 6 runs. He struck out 7 guys. So you can cash this prop even in a bad start. All you need to do is get his outs via the whiff.
Okay, let's give your best bet for the night.
All right, Katie, I'm going with an over. People know that I'm a big under guy, but I'm seeing offense in the Red Sox versus Tampa Bay Rays game today. This line is at 7.5 on Caesars Sportsbook at -110, and it feels a run or two low to me, to be honest. The Red Sox are coming off a 4-game series against the Yankees in which all 4 games flew over the total. I know it well because I tried to bet the under last night and lost hilarious. Like instantly, just home runs flying over the fence.
Nothing worse. I mean, part of it's good because you're like, okay, well, this is over. But then the other thing is like, why watch this game anymore?
Exactly. And also every run that's like added on top of the one that you bet under is like, wow, I was that wrong. Like it just feels worse and worse. In any case, the bats were cracking and the pitching was lacking, Katie. They gave up 29 runs, but they scored 27 themselves. So this is a run-filled series with the Yanks. Now they come into a series with the Rays, who they actually played in the series prior. So the Rays just got swept by the Reds. They gave up 10 runs yesterday, so their pitching isn't in top form either. And really, more than anything, both teams played multiple extra inning games in their previous series. I look at their pitching numbers. They spent their bullpens. I mean, there's nobody left to throw. The Rays are going with their opener today, which is where they start a relief pitcher and then piece it together. Who do they have in the bullpen to throw? They used everybody over the last 3 games. So did the Red Sox in this war with the Yankees. So with 2 kind of, starters that I don't expect to go very deep in the game, you might see some guys out there pitching that you never heard of. So with a total of 7.5, I think that these offenses can go over this number with probably weak pitching. So give me the over all day here.
I love it. I'm going to squad ride with you on this one for everything that you just said. The pitching has not been hot and the bats have been hot. So that makes a lot of sense, especially if we're going to have some pitchers out there that we've never seen before. 7.5 definitely seems pretty low. All right, Danny, thank you so much for joining us today. You can catch Danny here every single Monday, and you can follow him at Brasco Bets on Instagram. You can also hit me up at Katie Mox, and we could answer some of your biggest gambling questions on the show. Danny, thanks for joining us. This was Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. We'll see you Wednesday.